Brad, thanks for joining today for this interview on Mastering the Monsters. Brad Herda with Vision Forward Business Solutions is a coach for blue collar business owners and is a founding member of Coaches Culmination, a great contributor and friend.
Proud founding member of Coaches
Thank you,
Culmination.
Brad. Proud founding member of Coaches Culmination, and where we get to collaborate and become better coaches together from learning from one another. So that's what we're here to do today, and to share it with those online and abroad. So we're going to talk about mastering a monster today. And Brad, will you share what monster it is that you in particular enjoy helping others to master?
So I'm a big believer in, one of the acronyms that came out a couple years ago was habits equal results, decide accordingly, right? So for me, it's the decision that the monster of decision that gets in the way of people moving forward or recognizing direction or different things. That is the monster that I enjoy a lot when we just break it down. Some people want to call it accountability, some people call it other things, but ultimately it's decision. It's making a decision and recognizing that no decision is still a decision, even though we fill it up with lots of excuses and other things along the way that prevent us from moving forward.
I'm curious, since you work with business owners who are addressing so many large, challenging, impactful decisions, is there a particular time or culprit that prompts that monster to perhaps come out from under the bed and rear its ugly head? That decision monster.
Um, Usually most of the a lot of folks I work with, they're also still working in the business. They're still an employee as well as an owner in many cases in some shape or form. And they use that part of being the employee as an avoidance to get themselves out of being the employee because there's a potential fear of that decision. If I let go, I let go of those things. If I let go of this piece of my business, then therefore it's going to fail because no one can do it as good as I can. And I'm like, are you sure about that? Are you sure no one can do that better than you? Maybe at a lower cost, potentially at a faster rate. Because where you're really good at in your business is actually selling your business, or you're really good at doing design work for your business, or wherever it might be. Being on the floor doing the thing, probably not the best use of your time, and helping them recognize where they're important to their business and where they're most valued and where they have the most fun is where we try to get those decisions focused. And in stressful times, usually it's that we revert back to our old habits
Mhm.
because that's where we want to go when things get stressful. We revert back to this is what we've always done, this is what we're comfortable with, and we work on changing the environment where those habits start to go away, and
Mhm.
making new decisions to move things in a different direction is okay, and it's fine. And if it's wrong, you can change it. There's nothing's the fear of making a decision for most people is, well, it's set in stone. Similar to goals, right? I made a decision on my goal. Well, we can change our goals without feeling like a failure, as long as we know why we're changing those goals, right? If we've made the decision to do, I don't know, I'll use a home builder. If we made a decision to build 50 homes this year, as an example, cool, great. As long as you've put the leads in, done those things, you can't control the interest rate, similar to your control aspect of things, Ariel. You can't control the interest rate. You can't control, you know, who dies, who gets divorced, who has kids, can't control rental rates. You can't control those things. But if you have all your systems in place and all those things, you've made the decision that you're going to support that, great. And if all of a sudden your goal, because you made the decision to say, 50 wasn't the number, 40 is, okay. It's okay. It's not a fail. It's okay because you've made a decision that reflects the current state of all those other inputs.
So, why is that so crucial, so important to master the monster of decisions in those roles or other roles? Why is that so important to master?
It's freeing. It gets rid of all that anxiety, right? It gets rid of all of the nervousness or gooiness around things. It gets rid of that whole, well, I've made the decision to do this. It's empowering. When you tell yourself, I've made the decision to do this, it's very empowering. I've got a personal training client who gets all over my shit for drinking all my diet soda. And I'm like, I've made the decision that I am not going to give up all my diet soda. You can tell me all the bad things about it. You can tell me all the stuff that's there. Oh, it's this, that, and the other thing. You
Mm.
know what? It's my one thing that I have that I know that's not good in the long term potentially. Until something happens, I'm not going to give it up because I like it. It's and I've decided that. I'm not going to say, well, I should drink less soda. Yep, I should, but I've decided not to. Right? It's
And same
and
for the other side of it, right? If you decide not
right,
to, that's a decision, but you own that decision and it lets go of all of the waffling from what I'm hearing.
right. When I hear owners say, "Well, I want to grow 30% this year." Oh, great. Want to is fantastic.
Mm.
Did you decide that you're going to grow 30% this year or not? Because if you didn't make the decision, it's not going to happen. I want my employees to be more efficient.
Mm.
Okay, cool. What does that mean? What's the decision point mean? Does that mean we have to do this 10% faster, 2% faster, 100% faster? What does that mean along the way and get clarity? And a lot of times they're afraid to get that clarity. But once that clarity is there and there's an understanding and a path forward, the results that come forward with that are mind boggling and just I don't want to say hockey stick like, but it is very much it's not a linear path. It's a exponential path in many cases because we take care of some of those foundational decisions they were always afraid to make. And then expect once decisions are made, expectations are set. And we as humans don't necessarily want to disappoint others when we know the expectation. It's when we don't set expectations that it gets really messy and oh, my boss sucks and this and that. And oh, the employees are terrible because they don't want to work. Well, you didn't really tell them what you want them to do either. So let's
Mm.
make the decision to tell them what you want them to do, and
I was
let's
going to
make
ask
that
you how
happen.
you help uh, business owners and others to make decisions or to address that decision monster. It sounds like you displayed that a bit though with that step and getting the clarity, helping them through that. How do you guide them to that clarity, to that decision making state?
Um, so for me, I do a lot of work with making sure we don't start with a clean piece of paper.
Mm.
A lot of folks in our industry want to start with a clean piece of paper and just the blank whiteboard, and let's figure it out from there, and we'll guide them through that. Um, like I said, most of my clients, they're in the business, they're doing something, they're actually part of the employee staff. We don't have time for that. I don't have time to go and do all that fun things. So I do a lot of, I'll write a I'll write a draft procedure, or write a template, or write a position agreement, or do something that they can physically see and can't get a grasp of concept in their mind. I will add my flavor and spin to it. I may throw some things in there that will challenge their thought process or ideas that might throw them out there, um, and get them to think about their decision differently and help them envision what that decision could feel like and look like for their business long term.
And what does it look like if they don't address that monster of decisions, if they never get to that point of clarity and decision making and defined expectations? What's the impact of what when they do and when they don't?
When you don't, you just have that cloud of always do what you always done. You always get what you always had. And if you want something different, if you desire something different, you have to make the decision to do something different. If you don't want to come into work every day and your employees treating you like shit or doing things that don't make sense, or you take control over everything, you don't have time to do anything, well, you got to decide to do something different. You need to decide to let go of things. You need to decide to delegate. You need to decide to do other things. And that letting go is fearful, although very rewarding when it happens. And when we start focusing on making the decision to focus on results versus the process, and we'll go back to sales, which is always the easy thing to do. Um, hey, you know what? We need you to make 100 calls a week. Great, fantastic. That salesperson can make 100 calls a week and doesn't mean diddly squat. because there's no result. The result is make 100 calls. The outcome is I made 100 calls. The result is zero sales potentially. Well, let's talk about the result that you might want. Say, you know what? We need to quote $400,000 a month. Let's start with that. Maybe we don't close it all, but let's start with the expectation of not just making the call, but how do we get a quote out the door? How do we get an appointment? Maybe how do we get an appointment to do a walkthrough for that expansion on somebody's home, for the addition, for those types of things, versus, well, let's just make some calls. We'll send out some flyers and hope the phone rings.
Throw it all against the wall and see what sticks.
Right. Well, yeah, we've made it this far that way. Okay, good. Buying habits have changed. The generational shift is real. The marketplace has changed. The environment has changed. The workforce has changed, and you have to change with it. And those decisions have massive impacts to that long-term success.
Speaking of massive success and the impact of decisions, what do you enjoy the most about guiding, helping others to master decision making, the monster of decisions? What do you enjoy the most about helping people to do that?
I enjoy when they make decisions watching records get set.
I want to know more about that.
And this is not to be braggadocious or anything like that, but every client that I have that I've worked with over the last 3, 4, 5 years, every one of them has set a record of some sort, whether it's production, sales, volume, expense reduction, whatever it is, whatever they decide to do, they've done it better than they've expected, to set new benchmarks along the way.
That's incredible, Brad. And I don't see that as bragging. I see it as sharing the truth for others to know the impact of making decisions.
And it comes down to making that decision to stay focused on those 1 or 2 things along the way, not just everything that's going on around them.
And something that others who are watching this didn't see that I saw when we were in a meeting yesterday was how much you were lit up by talking about the success of your clients and how much you enjoy and are passionate and connected to the businesses and how you feel part of it and care very deeply. I know you hide your heart behind your tough exterior. I know you have a big heart and you care immensely about business owners and blue collar business owners in particular, and have an incredible passion for helping them and serving them. So it's fun to see you enjoying those successes and those wins and feeling that too.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Am I a catalyst for that? I don't know. Would it happen without me? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Is it causation or not? I don't know those answers, but I do know the results that show up in their performance and in their lives and in their decision making process. So I take their feedback and I continue to move forward.
Love it. Thank you for sharing about how to master the monster of decisions today, Brad, and again for being a part of Coaches Culmination, collaborating and continuing to contribute so that I and others can learn more, become better coaches and better decision makers.
Thank you, Ariel, very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad.